What's up? It's P from PBKM, and this week I'm doing a movie review because I told you I would. Basically, I got a whole list of movies. I'm going to try and run through these as quickly as possible, not get so bogged down and deep into them. You know how I like to do. These are movies you definitely might want to check out, and I'm going to try and synopsize them as best I can. Starting off with Feast. Feast is a trilogy. Very Tarantino-esque horror movie. Basically, it starts off where there's this bar, and in this bar there are lots of people drinking, and the badass shows up. Well, basically what happens is this guy comes in, he's covered in blood, he's got a shotgun, and everyone thinks he's robbing the place. Basically what he's doing is he's there because he just had an encounter with basically what is the beast of this movie. What they are is some type of big humanoid thing. I don't know what it is. There's like a group of them. I can't tell if there's really a male and female, but they seem to be male and female. They are almost impervious to everything unless they open up to you. Then you can like destroy internal organs, maybe. And in addition to that too, they come in various sizes because they have kid-sized one to introduce them to what's going on, which is the first thing that comes in, and they have the darndest time killing it, where they actually contain it and end up killing it later. Biggest issue with this though is they go through all this just to find out that the things can actually like instantaneously reproduce. So the monsters also don't mind getting it on, and they don't mind getting it on with whatever either, which is kind of disturbing and creepy. So basically the first movie is just whoever says they're the hero dying, and these groups of people trying to figure out how to get away from these monsters in general, or how to kill them. Part 2 basically picks up towards that end to sort of just bring the rest of it home, per se. I don't remember part 2 as well as I remember part 3, because 1 and 3 are the ones you really want to see. Part 2 is kind of more of the same, but you ain't really missing nothing. And part 3 is where they kind of really finish the story off. And so now the funny gags that they had going from part 1 are in all 3 of them. They just show up in different ways. And also too, a whole new cast of people are basically brought in for the third one, so to speak. Well, they're not brought in for the third one. They're there, but they're brought in to basically get it to this point, and they're in a new location. Is one of them crazy movies you just have to see. The third one has some really bizarro, dark moments in it, and also a bunch of very comedic moments. I was glad to see Cole from Martin in it, though. I haven't seen that dude in a movie in forever, or a TV show, or anything for that matter. But part 3 is the one that you really kind of need to see. There's lots of puking and sex jokes and farts and all sorts of weird stuff, so you kind of need to have that in mind, that you in for a nasty treat. But it's hilarious to me, and the end of it is definitely worth seeing. If you don't watch any of the Feast movies, Google the ending of part 3. Synopsizes everything, but you also won't be able to see the kid who is Captain Ass Kicker but has no arms. There's some really messed up things that happen in it and such, and it's just crazy. You need to see that. Soul Survivor, you meet him in the first movie too, just so you know. Okay, now next one is Kill the Irishman. This is pretty much a gangster film about Danny Green. Basically, Irish fella. He pretty much has issues with Italians. He actually is able to become head of the union for dock workers, and then is pretty much brought in for the corruption that was already there before he got there, that he just kind of continued with, and he basically ends up becoming an informant for the FBI, so to speak, and he begins to work for organized crime with the Italian folks and such, with the mob, basically. As things go, he tries to change. He pretty much loses his family. They don't die or anything. They just leave him. Trying to basically maintain his lifestyle and such. And then he also is able to sort of start trying to make a change and help more people, which is throughout the whole movie he tries to help people. But he's in some really dire, bad situations. Anyway, he becomes a really important man because he's basically the enforcer or the muscle for this one particular guy who works for the mob. They try to strike out on their own because the upper echelons of the mob are basically just sending them a middle finger, and they kind of like doing things their own way anyway. So as things kind of progress and such, they end up with kind of a lot of money being borrowed and it being lost on the way to them, but they're still expected to pay money back. So this ends up ending with a hit being placed on their heads, and pretty much they make a lot of attempts and cause a lot of property damage, but they really aren't able to get him to the very end. And pretty much it's a very good movie. You really need to see it and such. It's crazy. The next one, Frank White, King of New York. Christopher Walken, playing a drug dealer in what has to be the late 80s, early 90s. Pretty much his whole crew seems to be black guys and dudes of Spanish descent. I'm not sure exactly what they were. Maybe some Puerto Ricans. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, he's got this group of cops that pretty much breaking his balls because he's basically he's back out. He's in the drug game. He's assassinating other thugs, and he's basically just trying to use the money to make some good happen for the less fortunate folks of the world, while he's basically using his criminal enterprise to do this, so to speak. So it's kind of got a very interesting social connotation to it, or commentary to it. So it's definitely a movie worth watching. An unusual character, and not just because it's being played by Christopher Walken. Lawrence Fishburne is in it too, as Jimmy Jump. I had forgotten that, yeah, he used to be a thug in a bunch of movies. So that was interesting. Next one, Manborg. This is some 80 cheesemo stuff, man. It's supposed to be made by an Australian director. Basically, Manborg is kind of almost got this Murphy thing going on, but they're fighting this like evil, futuristic version of Dracula. Pretty much almost like it was pulled straight from Barbarella, honestly. Basically, a scientist, the same scientist who turned him into Manborg, basically ends up accidentally opening the gates to hell. He makes Manborg to try and save humanity at some point, and he just sort of stays alive working as an underling for this vampire-like character. And you've got this other guy who works under him, not the scientist, but the Dracula-like character. And pretty much he looks like one of the Cenobites from Hellraiser, the one with the goggles. So it's kind of an interesting flashback for there. Pretty much Manborg has some people that he meets that actually help him pretty much save the world, because he is the only hope against that Dracula vampire guy, which he does defeat at the end. Pretty much requires some self-sacrificing. Anyway, that's not the important part. Most of this movie is green screen, and it's obvious. But they get points for all they were able to create. Because, man, they must be some talent. slash Liu Kang crossover character called Number One Man. This kind of fake Billy Idol character and this fake Billy Idol's sister. So that's pretty much like his crew. He's basically doing all of this stuff once he figures out what's going on in memory of his brother. And he also has a very interesting fight, kind of like in an arena that they throw him in kind of early before he really knows who he is and what he's doing and such. So it's interesting, man. They have some really stupid moments in there, but it's one of those movies that's so bad it's good. Okay, now next we're going into Hansel and Gretel. There's two Hansels and Gretels. First one is Hansel and Gretel's Witch Hunter. The second one is Warriors of Witchcraft. The first one is the one that had the guy from Hawkeye in it. It's actually pretty cool. Basically, Hansel and Gretel survived their first encounter with a witch, throw her into an oven, and pretty much that kind of leads them to become witch hunters because witches' powers don't work on them, which is explained later in the movie, but is certainly not explained to them until very late in the movie. So as they continue on, they end up in this town where lots of children have been taken. They're wondering why such powerful witches seem to be around and why are so many children being taken, to find out that there's basically a blood ritual coming up on the special phase of the moon where they really intend, the witches have a plan to make themselves fireproof, and Hansel and Gretel basically have to stop it. Very interesting battles and conflicts come up, which is probably most of what makes this movie so awesome. And later on, it's revealed to them that the reason why those witches couldn't mess with them before is because they were basically, they're basically the children of a good witch, and they have a good witch assisting them to go stop all these evil witches. So basically, in the end, it's happy ending. And they basically continue to witch hunt after they take out this super strong main witch because that's what they do. Definitely worth a watch. Now this other one, the Warriors of Witchcraft, this is good quality, low budget film, horrible effects, no real Gangster Squad. My cousin basically told me to check this out. This is basically a Hollywood gangster film. Basically, you get a group of hard-boiled cops going to go take down this very ruthless, dangerous mob boss. They take him down, but it's off the books. So the chief basically has this main guy that he knows who's good at what he does, kind of overly heavy-handed, get together and kind of build his own untouchables unit. And they basically go and they touch up this mob boss's operation. This mob boss is different because he's not connected. He's actually pretty much just taking over territory. Anybody who wants to argue or fight with him dies. So basically what it comes down to is they're basically sent in to either arrest him or kill him. Preferably killing him wouldn't be a bad idea. The only problem is that it invites an opening for more of them to come, so they have to actually be able to arrest the boss, so to speak. So that was the interesting thing. It has a happy ending, not necessarily easily foreseeable until towards the end. So it's definitely worth it. The conversation's good. Very interesting twist. I liked it. Wish Dick Tracy could have been as awesome. And the next one is Cujo. Stephen King's Cujo. If you haven't seen Cujo, I'm going to explain it to you. Basically, this big St. Bernard is owned by a mechanic. The St. Bernard catches rabies. The main characters in the movie, though, are a couple that it's a couple. The father is an ad exec. They have a child, and basically his campaign at his job's kind of falling apart. Finds out his wife is also cheating, and he's basically just trying to keep a good face together and keep working. In this, he has kind of neglected to really get her car repaired because she kind of is driving a piece of crap. So basically, he ends up getting his car fixed by the shade tree mechanic he's told about. And that's where he's also going to eventually take her car to get fixed. Long story short, the dog is rabid, kills the mechanic's friend. Been like, it's pretty much just at the house wandering around, just getting sicker and sicker. The cheating wife basically tries to take the car in herself, and she chooses this as the time she takes the car because unbeknownst to her, these things have happened at the mechanic shop. So she goes down there and ends up trapped with her and the child there. And the child is like terrified because this big dog just tries to jump up in the car and get him and such. So she's got to stay in the car with him and whatnot. And they have to make it an overnight thing. You know, just having to like pee out the window, out the open door type of thing because they can't really get out of the car because the dog will attack them and such. Long story short, they spend the night. The next day, because all this takes place in the summer, crazy hot sweltering day, the child starts to have seizures, so she's got to work her way to the house. And the house has a working phone which she can hear ringing because the dog can't stand noise, so the dog is just wandering around and whatnot. So pretty much as she tries to make an attempt to run for the door, she gets bitten, and pretty much that stops her attempt from running to the door. Pretty much a cop who's investigating her missing because the guy she was cheating with basically tore their apartment up since she wasn't home. So she probably dodged a bullet on that one. But back to the scene, for the most part, this ends up worrying her husband. The thing that leaves him there is there's no word from the police who was supposed to go check out, see if, they've seen anything or heard anything. So basically what goes down is Cujo is there. He kills the police officer. The officer happens to drop the gun. She's able to run, get the gun, and is able to wrestle with Cujo with a bat, and Cujo blacks out. She uses this time to try and run in the house with her child, make an emergency phone call after getting them cooled down and responding to her. And basically what ends up going down at this point is Cujo regains consciousness, makes his way into the house because he just breaks through the glass coming into the house, and she has to shoot him and put him down. So she puts him down. The father's child comes in, kind of saves his day and such, and that's basically the end of the movie. Yeah, I know it seems sort of anticlimactic. It's a classic. You should watch it. Very suspenseful movie. And that's pretty much it for now. I'm going to go ahead and call it night because it's morning time here. I haven't been to bed yet. That's totally my fault. So I'm going to see you folks later, and hopefully this will be posted a couple of days from now. Alright, peace.